Hello, and welcome to Keeper's Corner Podcast, where we're breaking down anything and everything Utica City FC related. With your hosts, as always, Matthew Sterling, Michelle Brooks, and Brandon Brooks. Let's go. Hello, welcome to another edition of Keeper's Corner Podcast. Matt and Brandon are here. We're joined by a return guest this week, Phil Lavanco. Last time he was on, he was working for Utica City. Now he has some freelancing for the league, or do you work for them directly?
A little bit of both. Yeah, I work for the league. I got the call up to the league. So I'm helping them out with the videos. So I do basically all the stuff you see on the internet, right? The goals of the week, the saves of the week. Shout out to all those people on Facebook who doubt my picks. And then I do the plays of the week that come out. You know, help the teams, first of all, put content on the internet, right? Because it's desperately needed. Mm-hmm. You know, we want to get our league out there. We want to see, you know, the talent that's in this league. We want to show off their plays. You know, just like every other league. You know, the NHL puts out videos. The AHL puts out videos. MLS puts out videos. USL puts out videos. We want to do the same thing. You know, and then help the broadcasts out, right? So we're not seeing, you know, the same commercials over and over, and give them some stuff to play, you know, because you don't know who's watching a game for the first time, you know, and I mean, gosh, the game is so fast and so crazy. You know, if you're watching the game for the first time, you're probably coming back for a second. That's always been my call, but you know, help show some highlights during a game. You know, this way you can kind of find, you know, like anything with sports, right? Find a player that you like, sort of learn about it a little bit, and hopefully stick around as a fan.
Absolutely.
You know, and we do the midweek with Michelle as well, where we kind of talk to a player, you know, just non-soccer stuff. We want to find out about their life, sort of, you know, I mean, these guys have very interesting stories, very interesting backgrounds. So we want to showcase that, you know. Haven't gotten anyone from Utica yet on the pod, but you know, this week coming out, you know, Wednesday, right, or Thursday, we're gonna have Leo on, because obviously, you know, Leo was a good guest, timely guest, and you know, so another thing we're doing with the league, and there's more stuff coming too. We're JP, Shep, Keith, Commissioner Tozer. We've you know, we've got some plans, and I'm happy to be part of it for sure.
Well, we're happy you're a part of it as well, and we're happy that even though you got the call up, you're still rooting for your hometown, Utica City FC.
Sure, yeah, and I'm pleased to come on and talk about it. I know, you know, we've talked about the games offline before, and now we're going to do it online. We don't always agree on how these games go, so hopefully it's we'll have a nice little conversation here.
Looking forward to it.
Okay. With that said, we'll start with the first heartbreaking loss of 2 this weekend. Friday night at Milwaukee. For anyone that's tuned in at all this season, we've been doing a stat that tells the story and play that changed the game. And this week, with the games as close as they were, I felt like that wouldn't be enough to actually tell the story. So we're going to give more of a traditional recap. In Milwaukee, we've lost Pat Thompson to a knee injury. Nuo Obasi's out due to injury, and we have signed Everton Moreira to fill the hole.
Mm-hmm.
Former player, former coach for St. Louis, did not play last year, I believe, but has that veteran leadership, and we saw a bit of him.
Someone who knows the indoor game, right?
Yes.
You know,
yes.
You don't have to upload the game and the rotations and things like that. Someone who's lived it, loved it, coached it. So, you know, it's plug and play for sure.
Yeah, which definitely makes a big difference, you know, rather than pulling somebody basically off the street. You know, you're getting someone that at least knows a bit. I mean, just looking back, just a quick glance. I mean, he played from, looks like 2014, 2015 season with the Chicago Mustangs, 2015 to 2017 with the Cedar Rapids Rampage, had a stint of 2 years with St. Louis. Did skip the 2019-2020 and the 2020 into 2021 seasons, and then came to Utica. Just to give a little background.
I think if you go way back before that, when it was the MISL or the PSL before that, he played for Milwaukee, so he has ties to that community as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a good veteran presence to add. We didn't see him a ton Friday night. We'll see how much he gets in the rotation down the stretch, but it's another leadership voice on the bench that can help coach these guys and bring things back to where we thought they would be, hopefully. But we'll take a look at this game, and scoring did not take long at all. 45 seconds into the game, Alex Bradley on the break goes to cross the ball. Huffman can't get a good settle. It ends up at Ian Bennett's feet. He rips a shot. Coughlin makes a great diving save to his right. The ball rebounds right out to Bradley and back of the net, and that's 45 seconds into the game. Utica down 1-0.
Yeah, that was definitely, kind of a shot to the heart to literally start the game only to end up being behind, not even a minute in. Makes it sucks. But you got to at that point, it's like, okay, it's so early on, shake it off and move on.
It's early and no game is settled in the first quarter.
No, absolutely not.
No, but certainly doesn't help the morale from a fan base standpoint when here we go again, it feels like.
And at this point, we have started basically 95% of our games. I think we've started behind. It's almost something that, at least from my perspective as a fan, we've almost settled into, which is not necessarily a good attitude, but at the same time, we have seen them come back from it.
Brandon, I was saving the stat for the next game, but now is a good time to break it out.
Okay.
It's actually 100%.
Oh,
Utica
okay.
is the only team in the league that has not scored the first goal in any of their games.
That's close.
I was like, maybe that Baltimore game at home, the first one where we had the lead in the first half, but no, yeah, that's
from our researcher Pete with the league.
that kind of brings you back to earth.
Well, but again, still, like I said, too, no game is lost in the first quarter. So, all right, you put yourself in a little bit of hole. But again, it's a game of momentum. It's a game of swings. It's a game of shifts, right? Ebbs and flows. There's still plenty of time in all of these games.
Right.
I think
you never want to give up the first goal. You want to build momentum, of course, but there's still plenty of time.
I'm sure we'll be talking about at least momentum to an extent for the Sunday game, but we'll get there.
Yes. So it's 1-0. Few minutes pass by. Next goal. I believe this is the one where Coughlin came off his line to clear it or to grab it, and the ball squeaked off the glass just past him, ricocheted out, empty netter, because Coughlin just couldn't get back in time.
Mm-hmm.
And there was the goal for Daniel Matos to make it 2-0 with 4:25 remaining.
But wait.
Didn't take long for Utica to find their legs. After that second goal, with 5:14 remaining, Slavisa Uba Peripovic, that's his first of the game. It was nice to find great goal, and it was nice to finally see some life from Slav.
Yes, Frank, we have been critical of him this season for the simple fact of we've seen what he can do. And so we've definitely been, fairly critical of him. And so to see him get his scoring shoes back on was definitely, it was good to see. It was good and just to be able to get that answer back so, fairly quickly. Yeah, it was definitely nice. Him getting that, I actually just rewatched it. Him getting that nice left footer in. Oh,
was an early goal of the week candidate for me. I marked it down. I thought it was a really good goal, really technical goal.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, that left foot for Slav is definitely a sniper's rifle, and hopefully it's starting to get honed in on its target.
Yes.
But the fast-paced scoring doesn't stop there. A minute 5 later, Milwaukee answers on a breakaway. Marcio Leite finds Ian Bennett. Bennett finds the back of the net. And now it's 3-1 Milwaukee.
Which it usually does when it's on Ian Bennett's foot.
Yeah. We'll get to it at the end of the full recap scoring summaries, but we'll talk about that video that I put together. Because Phil, I think you got something to say about that.
Yeah, we'll wait till we get there for sure.
We'll get there. Yeah. So we're 6 minutes 19 seconds in. 4 goals have already been scored, and yet the first quarter kept on giving. The 9:50 mark, Segura nets an unassisted goal, brings it back 3-2. Utica still hanging around within 1. Then 11:14, Mikey Herrera from Derek Huffman with his second assist of the night. That man was just handing out goals all night long and came back to haunt us. We are at 4-2. And then once again, just barely a minute later, Slav finds the back of the net for his second goal on the night and makes it 4-3.
Yeah, it seemed like we were definitely. It was nice to see that we were trying to keep it within 1. I mean, obviously they kept pulling away from us. We kept bringing it back within 1. That was because I'll be honest. I mean, that's something I feel like we haven't seen, is that they'll get a couple goal deficit on us, and then we just can't seem to make that up. So them basically consistently bringing it back to within 1 was I don't want to say morale boosting, but it was a nice change of pace again from a fan perspective. Real quick, just going back, I actually had initially thought that our second goal was actually off of Joey until I rewatched it, and then I saw that it was actually off of the Milwaukee player. I didn't see the jersey, but now rewatching it like 2 or 3 times, I understand why Christian got the credit for that one. So I was a little confused.
Yeah, because on the broadcast they credited it to Tavernisi as well, but
yeah,
officially in the scorebook it went to Segura.
Yeah, I see why now.
7 goals, first quarter. Looks like we're in for a barn burner.
You're in for a fun one.
My prediction from last week, which was, or my keys to the game, which was keep Ian Bennett from dominating, which meant not holding him to 2 points or less, and keep it low scoring, looked like it was thrown out the window.
Yeah, it was definitely, like you say, 7 goals in the first quarter. I mean, definitely a very active, very offensive quarter, to say the least.
It was a rough first quarter for Coughlin in goal. It was the first time we'd seen him in a few weeks. You could tell he was shaking the rust off. Fortunately, he settled down, and we saw a much better game from him stats-wise through the next 3. But we get into the second at 4-3, and then our captain, Bo, finds the back of the net to bring us even at 4.
Yeah, again, that just kind of touches on we kept seeing, I guess you could say, people who maybe necessarily hadn't seen scoring, recently. It was nice to kind of see, some of the veterans coming back into form, at least here and there. It was really nice to see them kind of coming back to, like I said, coming back into form. I just can't say that enough. To an extent. Yeah,
and Shortly after this goal, we see our only blue card of the game. Ronnie picks it up for tripping. And Utica's penalty kill, which we discussed last week being key to, standing a chance against Milwaukee, came through. And there wasn't another goal scored until 2 seconds left in the half.
Mm-hmm.
Well, remember, too, so I thought Utica's old goalkeeper, too, Matty, had a great first half, too. He saved Nate on an odd man advantage with it was a glove save. So it could have been more, too. And I know we're going to get into it in a little bit, but I appreciated the approach from the team because it seemed to me that they decided that they were going to play an overly aggressive, overly offensive game. And I thought, you're having a little trouble scoring. So let's sort of concentrate on the attacking and the attacking movements, almost unbalance the team. Don't worry about defense a little bit, unbalance the team. And I thought it really paid off. So I appreciated the different approach.
Yeah, from a team that's been struggling to score, it was refreshing to see such an onslaught.
But it was an approach. It was a different mindset from the games from before that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was we're going to outscore you game.
Yeah.
Right. And I know we're going to, we're at the half now, right? Utica's up. Did I take the 5-4 goal from you?
We're basically right there. So you're.
I mean, you're going to half with the lead. You're going to try to run and gun with these guys too, right? I mean, that's exactly what you want. Listen, you're going to give up goals when you're committing that many men forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've looked at your defense and you're like, listen, we're just going to run and gun, right? It was the right approach. It was the right sort of tactic for the game to another team that was struggling, right? So for me, everything was ticking up to yes. Like, it was a good half, Could have been way more. Matt made some great saves.
Yes, he definitely did. There was he definitely helped to keep that score in check to an extent. I mean, I know. Well, we'll talk about the stat later, but it was. I mean, it was honestly. You talk about refreshing. It was very refreshing to see us go into the half with the lead. I mean, that if we had to talk about, a play that, in my opinion, should have changed the game, it would have been that. Going into the half, scoring with 2 seconds left, and going into a half ahead, just after being behind, 3-1, going into the half 5-4. I mean, it's a good morale boost, but it's also a good motivator for the other side.
It's a shot of confidence in the arm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you want. You want to go into a half inning. You want that good feeling. You want to see the ball go in the back of the net. You want to look up at the scoreboard and see your team winning for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was. It was a running gun first half. I mean, you want to keep Ian to 2 goals, but I mean, come on now. You know what I mean? Like, hard.
It's a very difficult task,
and especially if you're going to play offensive like that, you're going to give up chances. So I thought all systems go for the first half. Then we get into the third quarter, and I'll say what I thought of the third quarter, and then we can kind of back and forth here.
Yeah, please.
That score could have easily been 8-4, 9-4. There were so many good chances. It's not showing up on the box score, right? I have the box score open just as you 2 shots on goal. There were so many quality chances in that third quarter. They tilted the field, right? They could have put up a bunch of goals in that game. Unfortunately, that's what happens when teams are struggling. They hit the post, you hit the net, the rebound. I mean, sorry, you hit the boards, the rebound comes, you hit the boards again. The old hockey cliche, right? You're gripping your stick too hard, right? That's for the third quarter. That was the third quarter to me. Utica tilted the field. Utica could have put 5 goals in the back of the net. They had chance after chance after chance after chance. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. It's not going to show in the box score. It's because they weren't saves, right? There were shots on goal. But the chances created were very high.
Yes.
And to me, that was the game. It was the third quarter.
Yeah, the third quarter really felt like a place where Utica was just trying to blow it open. And no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't. I mean, you mentioned the box score, so I'll bring it up and state it for those listening. In the third quarter, Milwaukee had the only goal, and it came once again with Derek Huffman and Ian Bennett connecting to bring us even at 5-5 with 11:29 to play, or 11:29 played in the quarter.
But to use the outdoor phrase, very much against the run of play.
Yes.
And officially, because Utica's shots weren't getting blocked in this quarter, they weren't on net, but they were all around it. They only had 2 shots in the quarter on goal. Milwaukee had 9 on goal. So on paper, it tells a completely different story than what your eye test tells you.
Now, when I asked you, right, because you saw the stats before you went back and rewatched the game, and I asked you, I said, rewatch that third quarter before you give a conclusion. What was your conclusion after you watched the third quarter?
My conclusion was that Utica probably should have scored 2 or 3 or 4 in that quarter. But for that same just the same thing that's haunted us all season is we haven't been able to finish. It was some of the most dominant stretch for Utica that I've seen all season.
Yeah, it probably was.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it didn't work out.
Yeah, the biggest thing is just, I mean, like you said, we've been seeing it a lot this season. Just we can get the goal, we can get the ball around the goal. We can basically trace a line around it, but we just can't get it within those bars when we're really trying for it anyway.
But again, it goes to, for me, it went to the mindset of the game, right? We're going to run and gun them. We're going to outscore them. It was the right approach for the game, but unfortunately, because of the rut and because of, the way that the season is going, it didn't work out. But that, to me, not any sort of defensive thing we can talk about. That third quarter, to me, was the game. It could have been 9-4.
Yeah.
After the third quarter.
No, there's an old Nick Swisher quote that I felt applied to the third quarter, which he was in a slump when he was playing for the Yankees, was asked about it post game, and the quote was, "The worse you do, the harder you try, and the harder you try, the worse you do." Because just mentally, you can't get yourself out of that rut.
That's very prophetic from Nick Swisher, and I never thought I would put those words together to make a sentence. That Nick Swisher would have sage advice and philosophy. Isn't he married to an actress too? He's married to someone, right?
I have no idea.
Like Reba or something, right?
I have no idea who he's married to.
Yeah, I think. Well, he was at one point.
I just know he was
Nick
like
Swisher.
the party boy on the Yankees. So.
Right, but like the party boy in the Yankees, but obviously still fitting in the box of the Yankees, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you can only do so much.
Yeah.
That's a whole different podcast.
Yeah.
About the Yankees. Coming from a Mets fan.
Yeah. Well, that goal from Milwaukee ended a 3-goal run for Utica, which was a nice change of pace there as well. Usually it's goes the other way. So, again, more just something to make you feel good as a fan. Fourth quarter comes. We're 9 minutes into it. Once again, it's Moises Gonzalez, his second goal of the day, with his back facing the net, settles it, fires it. Utica's up 6-5. I'll be honest, I'm half watching, half listening this as I'm driving home. Not the safest thing, but it was too good of a game not to have on in the car.
Oh, yeah.
And at that point, I'm like, oh, we're getting out of here with a win. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling ecstatic.
And that was another chance. He had a better chance saved just before that.
I was just going to say, I just watched it. I mean, he literally does the same move just about twice. Just one right after the other. Literally the exact same move against his defender. And it just, the first time it got blocked, the second time it just hits the corner or hits the edge of the net.
The first time it was saved, Matt makes a heck of a save.
Yeah.
On his scissor kick. That was, Andrew made a really nice pass out. Again, his distribution, very good. all game, except for the one that got stuck in the boards, which was hilarious. But good pass out from Andrew, right? Moise chests it down, scissor kick, heck of a save by Matt on the Milwaukee end, but they fight through. Effort still there, right? Through the fourth quarter, and he scores a great goal. And he's had a great year, right?
Yeah.
He's been the MVP of the team, and he keeps showing up. And you're right.
I think that's one thing to point out. One thing you mentioned is talking about distribution, talking about Andrew being able to, distribute. I mean, either one of them really. When they are able to execute a proper distribution, when they're not getting pressure, like Andrew was wide open. Nobody was pressuring him. No one was getting up on him. Nothing. He was able to, properly coordinate that, and look what happened.
And the new rule has sort of changed things, right? Can't play through the goalkeeper anymore, so it has kind of limited your ability, and it almost, and good ball playing goalkeepers, they can only touch it once now, right? So you have to really sort of pay attention when you give them the ball. But I mean, that's an asset on such a short field, be able to pick out a pass like that. It should have been an assist. Nate got an assist. It should have been Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
Nate owes him a beer.
At that point, Utica's flying high. You're up 6-5, but the game's not over. The scoring run isn't over, and one of the more dangerous men in the MASL finds the net with 6 attackers and an assist from Daniel Matos, and Bennett gets his hat trick to tie the game with just over 2.5 to play.
Yep. I will say very shortly before that, though, I mean, we were really putting some pressure on with when they had their 6th attacker out. I mean, Nate had I believe it was Nate, had a great breakaway and just ended up getting kind of pulled back a little bit. But, it was just enough to break up the play. And I mean, he even recovers it too, because he's even able to, slide it, slide tackle it away, get back, actually get a shot off. Like, there was, again, more chances there. We were going like Phil, like you said, just going full bore on this one on the offense, even though we're against, I mean, obviously, 6 attacker, but it's still an additional, body that can move freely on the field, basically. So, I mean, going against that and having 2 of us up there just pressuring it, I mean, it was another chance that just went wide yet again.
But the confidence was there, the belief was there,
Oh yeah,
and it was nice to see a game where, the team started to look more cohesive, more together. We went through the whole game. We haven't mentioned once that Bo was a defender for the whole game. They moved him back.
Yeah.
Moises played up top. So the lineup got reshuffled, and they just said, boys, let's go for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's hard to take out. It's hard to keep off one of the best players, one of the best finishers the league has ever seen. It's hard to keep them off the board, especially when they have man advantage.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think we're all hoping, well, let's just play for overtime, hope for 2 points, and drastically fear dropping 3 in Milwaukee in a game that at the end of the third quarter felt like we should have blown open and had the win locked up. But unfortunately, that's not the way things were meant to be. And a slow pass from Bo that was meant to change fields got picked off by Luan Oliveira, and he tore it up the turf. The defense swarmed him. He found the open man on the other side of the field, and with 8.7 seconds left, Derek Huffman gets his first goal of the night and seals it for Milwaukee. Just rip your heart out there.
Yeah, definitely tough to see, but I mean, looking at the overall scope of the game, I mean, definitely a turnaround for what we've seen from Utica, in past games. Still some mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen. I mean, regardless, it just depends on how we recover from them, number one, and how we can limit them as much as possible.
Well, especially when you're pushing hard to win, right? You're gripping your bat too tight. You're gripping the stick too tight. Everything we said, right? Should have been 9-4 in the third quarter, right? I mean, the guys want to win as much as everyone else does, right? You're pressing. You're pressing hard for it. Sometimes it doesn't work out,
Yeah, it was a rough one, and upon the replay, I had seen some trends that I think were part of the side effect from playing a more aggressive offensive style. But I put out a breakdown video showing what went wrong on 3 transition goals for Milwaukee that, given the way the game ended, could have changed the way if the defense gets back in a semblance of some form.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where our points of contention are, right? You still will cite those plays as the big moments of the game.
I don't think they're definitive moments in the game, but I think of them, they're the most easily corrected.
So if I told you then, or told you, I don't mean that. I'll sort of submit as a counter then that because you're playing more offensive, you're pushing more offensive, you're going to have those transition moments. That's kind of the risk reward you're going to take. Are you okay living with those kind of transition moments for an increased offensive output? Because again, if that third quarter is 9-4, right? I mean, Bennett's probably going to score another one, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably, it might be 10-8, 10-7 final. Are we having these conversations?
I'm happy to have this conversation.
I see what you're saying, Phil. Basically, what we've already talked about, where it was going for a more offensive posture. When they did have like these breakaways or these times where we were unable to say transition even some defensive players in, we've got a more offensive based, I guess, player base out there, which means that when they get on our side, unless we've had time to swap, we've got more offensive players on, and they're going to play differently. It's a different mindset, if I'm understanding correctly.
Well, you're when you go offensive, right, you allow for more risk at the back.
Yeah.
Right. You're pushing people forward. You're pushing numbers forward, right? The same thing in outdoor, right? So you're more vulnerable at the back. So yeah, you are going to give up some transition moments. It's just kind of the risk reward. If you watch Leeds in the Premier League, right, under Bielsa, they're go, pedal to the metal, right? If you've listened to anything Bielsa has ever said, it's, I will sacrifice the transitions in the back because I want the offense. And to me, that game was about that third quarter. They hit the pedal to the metal, try to get all those goals. Unfortunately, some of the finishing wasn't great, but that could have been 9. That could have been 9-4.
True.
Moises could have had 4 goals. And you don't blame him for a second for anything, right? Maybe a defensive coverage there. I'm sure they're going to look at some tape. Yeah, probably, right? But he could have had a 5-goal game.
Yeah. No, all I'm saying on those is on that transition defense, the guys can't get caught ball watching. When you're the secondary defender, like on the third goal of the game for Milwaukee, Segura's backing up Ben, who's covering Leite. That's a defender-on-defender matchup. I'm happy with that any day of the week. But because he's backing him up, it allows Ian Bennett to get wide open in the middle of the turf. And by the time Segura turns and follows where the ball is going to even try to get over there, it's too late. just better man marking on transition. I don't know if it takes away these goals, but it doesn't look so unrefined getting back on defense.
And all I'll say is, in those moments, you rewind the tape 20, 30 seconds forward, right?
Yeah.
You know, where was the offense? Where were the people before the transition? We won't debate the transition miscoverage because it's on the tape, right? That's there.
Yeah.
But what my point is about the Milwaukee game was I appreciated the philosophy difference, of trying to just grip it and rip it, and outscore them and run with them, because there's a lot of offensive talent on this team.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try to overwhelm them. Let's not worry about defense as much. And, that's for a defensive coach like Ryan is, he probably doesn't want to hear things like that, but 9-4 could have been 9-4.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. It definitely could have been a lot different. Just had some of those been either followed up on or, on target. But the attempts were there.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I would like to see. I want to see the, going for a game, right?
Yep.
I'm moving here. I have to put the phone on the charger, but I want to see the attempts. I want to see the, not trying to hold on for a win, trying to take a win.
Mm-hmm. It was closer than it should have been, unfortunately, I think. But we saw improvement, and at the end of that game, I said in our group chat that it's tough to judge how much improvement because of how Milwaukee has struggled this year as well. Let's see what they do Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Overall, one of the better games, though. I definitely agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, from a fan standpoint, it hurt to lose with that much time left.
It's always going to.
Just like any buzzer beater is going to. Just like any buzzer beater is going to hurt, but it hurt less than watching a game where the team just gets steamrolled.
Mm-hmm.
Which is never fun.
No, it's
never
not
fun. As somebody who was at the Red Wedding, NYCFC Red Bull, and left at 5-0, never fun. I'm that fan. You're gonna get boat race like that, I'm out of there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a have to stick to the final whistle guy. No way.
Mm-hmm.
No. I gotta beat some traffic. I gotta get
out of there. With that, we'll move on to the next game, which was Sunday at home against Ontario. Ontario took care of business against Baltimore on Friday night. They won 10-7, I think.
Yeah, something like that. They played really well. You guys 400.
10-4. Sorry,
I was gonna say they knocked it out of the park with that one.
They played.
I was thinking of the Tropic Sidekicks 10-6 game.
Oh yeah.
As I was saying, Tayu got his 400 point in that game.
Yes.
Stinson had a great goal. Had a couple of good goals in that game. They came cross country, took care of business in Baltimore, and the King, his first trip to the blue turf in Utica.
Yep.
There, I'll set you up for you.
Yeah. And highly anticipated game, first time these teams have met. And you look at Ontario and they're kind of like Milwaukee in that they can offensively just come out and tear you apart like they did to Baltimore on Friday. So I was kind of surprised to see this be such a low scoring game at 4-3 final. We didn't even see our first goal until there were 18 seconds left in the first quarter.
Yep.
Why do you think it was such a low-scoring game?
See, if I had to wager a guess, just because this was actually, so I'll be completely frank with you. I did not necessarily notice.
I would hope you're not lying. As we're doing
I guess not. This was the game where I noticed how much Bo was on defense. And so to me, it seemed like we were doing the opposite of Friday. And we were being much more defensively focused than we were being offensively focused. I don't know if that's necessarily because of who we were playing and what they've done in the past, but that was my thinking looking at this game just while I was watching it in the stands. Is I'm like, wow, we're playing very defensively compared to where, and we have not to be demeaning or anything like that, but we had some of our weaker offensive talent. We had like our Tim Goldman out there, which we'll talk about that. We had, I felt like we were weaker on offense, we were stronger on defense, and we were overloading the defense. And that was my observation. If I'm wrong, call me on it.
It also felt like there was more of a commitment to shutting down the offensive stars. Schindler did a fantastic job bodying up Taiyu. I look forward to seeing those two guys go toe-to-toe in another heavyweight match this coming Tuesday.
Yes.
If you rewatch the game, you notice that there was a considered effort to make sure Bo or Jake was on Taiyu every time he was out there.
I was gonna mention that yeah, we saw Schindler, but we definitely saw him and Bo square up too. So yeah, we were. To be fair, we kept the Taiyus at bay. Yes, Frank got 2 assists, but did not score a point.
Yeah. I'll be honest. The first goal of the game that was given up was to a former LA Galaxy player, so it was bittersweet for me as a Galaxy fan.
Yeah, we're trying to get him on Michelle's pod anytime that you can share a locker room with David Beckham. Yeah, you get to come on the pod and talk to us about it.
That was assisted by Frank Taiyu, and then we don't see any scoring for the rest of the first quarter. So in total, there were 21 shots between the two teams, and only one of them found net. Just concerted defensive effort on both sides.
Yeah.
And I will add, right, because now we're opening minds now, right? Not to look, we'll call it looking beyond the box score.
Yeah.
Not a lot of chances.
No.
There were shots.
No.
None of them were good chances. If expected goals ever came to the MASL, very tiny on both sides.
Yeah, if the MASL could ever develop those advanced metrics for...
Oh, you'd be a happy man.
Oh, I'd be a very happy man. I love my advanced stats.
Oh,
I also I have a love-hate relationship with them because I love what they tell us. I hate what they can do to a game.
And we have to reel him back in every once in a while.
Shh. See, this is why you brought me on, because I love advanced stats too. Especially
oh no, I'm outnumbered.
I think expected goals is very predictive in soccer. But we digress.
We do.
That's my job, right? Is to digress.
Sure, let's go with that.
So, for those of us, namely me, who couldn't be in the arena this day, do you want to explain what happened with Frank Taiyu getting the yellow card for dissent while the cameras were away at a commercial timeout?
So, yes, he basically, plain and simple, he was getting up on the ref. Like, I don't remember the call. You'll have to excuse me on that. I
believe it was Domenico pushing him in the back.
Oh,
trying to square him up.
Yes, it kind of looked, I'll be honest, it kind of looked like a little kid just kind of shoving the big guy, but he's a big dude. He's 6+. Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's muscular. He's a target. Like it's very apparent when you see Frank Taiyu in person.
But
he's a center of gravity. He pulls the game towards him.
Yep. But to give it to Vitali, like he was definitely trying. Whether Tayu had the ball, didn't actually. Yeah, he was literally standing on the ball. You saw that on camera, and you got Vitali just kind of showing up on him, like, do something. And once play stopped, then Tayu kind of got up on the ref, kind of was arguing with him, getting in his face. Not necessarily getting in his face, but it wasn't also right away either. It wasn't like the first whistle. It was after that.
Mm-hmm.
And
there was a discussion.
Yeah, there was a discussion. It got, he got heated. He got 5 minutes in the box.
Taylor Swift or, Lady Gaga. I mean, it was a heated discussion.
Yep.
Pineapple on pizza, it got intense.
Yep.
The ref didn't want to hear it anymore, and he popped him with the yellow.
Mm-hmm. Which I've been listening to the Striking Fury podcast the past couple of weeks, and Frank's gotten a few yellows, so it seems like he's a guy that can get. If you pester him enough, he seems prone to boiling over at the officials,
which is what Vitali kind of did. He was poking the bear over and over and over, and you could see him finally just get fed up with it and start swatting him away, like trying to get him to back off. And he finally, that was enough apparently to push him over the edge.
He didn't appreciate it.
No, not particularly.
Frank wasn't a fan.
But it takes a
like
huge
pineapple on pizza.
Huge offensive threat off the turf for 5 minutes. And unfortunately, Utica couldn't capitalize on that, nor could they capitalize on the blue card that was assessed to Clayson de Lima for tripping with 2.5 left to play in the first half.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker. Having to watch Moy, take that and just wasn't able to capitalize on it. That was tough to watch.
So if you didn't watch it, right, this is the shootout, right?
Yes.
Right person taking it. Let's start there.
Absolutely.
Which, by the way, I should talk to Commissioner Tozer. If you're the person fouled, you should be taking the shootout. But I'll digress for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So
I can get behind that.
Moy's taking the shootout, right? One of the best plays in soccer. And I'm not sure it was possible to hit the exact angle of the inside of the post that he hit and not go in.
Yeah, it was just a heartbreaker of a bounce. I mean, that bounces any other way and it's in. I mean, it was. I
think it's harder to do what it did than actually go in.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you guys have a better angle because you're on the far side, so you have a direct sort of 12 o'clock view.
Yeah.
To that goal. I'm right on half, right? So I'm looking, it's basically my 3 o'clock. But the inside of and he hits it square on the inside of the post that it shoots right out. You know the old Mighty Ducks line, right? 1/4 of an inch either way. Except 1/4 of an inch either way is going in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just a seriously unfortunate bounce that did not go in our favor.
And then unfortunately my bad prophetic abilities hit when I go, boy, that's going to weigh heavy later in this game in our group chat. And it weighed a lot heavier.
Oh, so it's your fault.
Yeah, sure. Blame me.
Well, but again, I will say too, it's a plot point, right? It's a distinct plot point, right? That you can come back to because it's an objective moment of the game, but it's in the first half. We all know this indoor game is all about swings and and momentum, and I mean there's plenty of time to get this game back.
Like you say, it's a definitive moment. It's not the moment that decided the match, but it's one that you look back on and you go, oh, if only it went the other way.
Yeah, right, because it changes the game state.
Yeah,
not tremendously, right? Because
you go into the half tied most likely, but
a little bit, but same thing that we talked about in Milwaukee game. More confidence, more, you're going in with, it said your shoulder slumped, right? Because this hits the most ridiculous part of the inside of the post.
Yeah.
You know, you come out, you have a very concerted defensive effort in the first half. You keep, a very good player off the scoreboard. I thought, Jake and Bo did a great job on Frank Hallgame, not just in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. You run into the locker room a little bit quicker, right? You want to get out a little bit faster because you've scored that goal. You're changing the momentum.
Yeah. It was one that, watching it on the broadcast, you could kind of feel the air let out of the arena a little. And then we got our halftime interview.
How
there.
was Razor's call of the kick? I didn't hear Razor's call.
I can't recall it off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it was
Razor's got to do better then.
Mostly astonishment.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, after it hit that angle, I just kind of blocked everything out. I was like, are you kidding? What the? Okay.
Why is this got to happen?
All right. Razor, if you're hearing this, more memorable calls, my friend.
Look, we can't all be Joey Zanaboni.
I did appreciate he did have one. Well, it's later in the game, but he had a good reference. I'll bring it up then.
But we get our halftime interview with Tim Goldman, and he does his best to pump the crowd up, get them back into it, kind of take that shock from being unable to tie it away.
He would have made a great wrestling promo in his day. Yes. He cut a good promo. That's the best way to describe what he did.
Which, I'm just going to touch on that real quick because, one of the things that I had said earlier on in the season when things were going downhill is that they needed to, in order to kind of bring the crowd back up, they either needed to do one of two things or both. Play him, even if it means maybe taking away some of your power, or basically put him in the crowd's eye like this. And this is the stuff that they needed to do when things are bleak, is put him out there. Just give him a mic. Like, look what he does.
Yeah, and what he does, we'll get to in a little bit, because before what he does happens, things do get bleak.
Yeah, they get worse.
Utica comes out of the half, 2 minutes and 7 seconds into the third quarter. Justin Simpson finds the back of the net unassisted. Now it's 2-0 Ontario.
To be fair, that was a good header. That was a good header on his part. He was right where he needed to be. Could have gone, could have been different, but that was he was in the right position for that play.
Mm-hmm.
He was. Now, we talked about it too in the, for the Milwaukee game, being optimistic, taking those chances. That was a pure indoor goal, right? Because it was a shot. It bounced off the boards. It was ricocheting around. And he sort of, he was an optimist. He said, I'm going to go to this spot. I'm going to be in a spot where if the ball gets to me, I'm going to be able to head it in. And he did. He's a good player.
Yeah, Stinson is a fantastic player. He really broke out in St. Louis and has been a great offensive addition since being moved out west to Ontario. Now it's 2-0 Fury. And 3.5 minutes later, Frank Taillou gets his second assist of the game to Berto Palmer. It's 3-0, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go again.
I was a little bit worried, I was getting a bit concerned for a shutout. I mean, like you said, it's not over in the first, like you said, Phil, it's not over in the first quarter, but when you get into the third, which we have a notorious streak of having bad third quarters, it seems like, I feel like we have just all I feel like our bad quarters are just all over the place this year, but in past years, the third quarter was notorious for being bad. And this one was initially no different.
Now, here is where we will comedically bring back the box score and say Utica outscored Ontario. I'm sorry, outshot him 6-5 in the third.
Yes.
Yep.
Because if I leave you with one thing, don't believe the box scores.
No.
Yeah.
No, they never tell the story, but they're a good way to get through the recaps quickly.
No, for sure, and they serve their purpose 100%. But we soccer is a game of, and now I'm going to sound like a boomer and the progressive all in the same chance, right? They do their purpose. They don't tell the story of the game, right? Stats, but at the same time, these advanced ones, they help. They help tell the story.
Yes.
That was an excellent speaking out of both sides of my mouth.
Well, this is the moment where we get to bring Tim Goldman back in and put him into the story.
Hold on. Before you touch on that, I do want to touch on where things got worse for Utica before they got better. Because we did see Moy go down and get taken off the field with injury, which at that point, I mean, that's even worse for us. We're down 3-0 and one of our top scorers goes down and gets carted off the field. The top scorer.
The top scorer, and you've already moved Bo back to defense, and he's, very concerned about playing defense that game, right? That was the tactic, shut down Frank, which he did for the most part. But he kept him off the goals. Slav didn't play in this game, so you're down to. You're down to Timmy, and you have to play Timmy because Moy limps off.
Yeah, that was at that point. I think everybody in that arena, at least a lot of us, were just looking at it like, now what do we do?
Yeah. But on the restart after that third goal is when Timmy comes out and he's hyping up the crowd again, and then you get the Moy injury. And then at 8:02,
he is in total pest mode.
Yeah.
Total pest mode.
Timmy, he comes out, he's on the restart. He's just the determined, like if you go back to the broadcast and you look at his face and that like determination on his face, he's in the zone. He's pumping up the crowd before play even starts. Like he's trying to turn this thing around.
Yeah,
he's the hype man.
If you've talked to him off the turf, he seems so happy and carefree and just, the easiest going guy. And it was like one of those anime moments where you do something to annoy the protagonist and they snap from not a care in the world to, all right, now I got to end you.
Yes.
And you'll go and you'll talk about Timmy's face. And what I'll say is, and Matt, I apologize, I'm going to jump you a little bit. He scores the goal on his face, his head, his shoulder, doesn't matter, right? So he scores the goal, grabs the ball, right, runs it back to half, puts it on the middle of the turf, tries, and successfully tries to pump up the crowd. And you were talking about Timmy's face and what he was doing, and I will cite Frank Tayu's face and the expression on his face, which is seared into my memory. The only way to caption it is, who the bleep is this guy?
I believe it.
And that is the face that's going to live with me throughout the entirety of this game.
Yeah, we love Tim, but let's be honest, he's the 15th guy on the bench most games.
Yeah,
14th in this case because 15th was Juan Alva. So that who the bleep was this guy is a legitimate question.
It really is,
especially for a West Coast team.
But Timmy has let's give him credit, right? Timmy has put in the work to hone his craft. He's getting better every single time. Yeah. He's on the field. At practice, he's working hard, working extra with the guys, learning how to read the boards, where to be. He's got a big frame to play target. So, he can get his head onto things. He can chest it down. He had a couple great flicks that should have been, goals. He's been working at it, and all of his hard work paid off in this game for sure.
Yeah. Because not only does he get his second career goal, 3 minutes and 20 seconds later, he gets his first career assist. Finds Segura, and all of a sudden it's 3-2 Utica, and we're heading to the fourth. Or 3-2.
These are very funny sentences we're putting together.
Yeah.
Tim Goldman is assisting Christian Segura goals.
Yes. It's not what we would normally... It's not necessarily a common phrase, if you will.
But again, where they are in their current position, the team's current position, and who they did not have available at their disposal in the third quarter, you get to say sentences like Tim Goldman assisted Christian Segura's goal.
Yeah. Again, that just continued to pump up that energy in the arena. And third quarter ends 3-2.
Wait, Matt. You cannot get out of the third quarter.
Am I forgetting?
Well, you're forgetting Timmy's volley.
Oh, the one that so close.
So close. The roof would have exploded off of that.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yes.
Because the energy in that place was buzzing, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's doing his best macho man, right? Pumping up the crowd. So he's got a chance. And, I can't remember how the ball fell, but he's got goal side to the defender. It sits up really nice for his right foot, and he takes a great swing at it. And it had some heat to it just above the goal. And if that ball went in, roof would have exploded off of that place.
That whole place, it would have just, absolutely. The roof would have literally come off that place. No question. Yeah, I just rewatched that. It literally basically goes like off the middle of the crossbar. I remember watching that. My heart just sank when that didn't go in. But at the same time, it's, he played hard for that ball too. Like, it wasn't just like it was like a giveaway or something. He basically knocks into this guy and gets through and steals the ball and goes for it. Like, energy.
It was a physicality that we hadn't seen out of Tim.
It is not a lie to say the words, Tim changed the game.
No, not a lie at all.
I mean, now I'm going to mention what I was going to mention earlier, is that if we were doing, our play that changed the game, it's 100%. I don't think there would have been any argument between you, me, and Michelle that first goal from Tim. And then just everything around it that he did.
But he was energy. He brought energy. He was getting underneath their skin because, he's being a wrestling character, not a soccer player. You know, he's Brad Marchand and, all of the, the pests that you can think of in any sport. And it's, he's getting under their skin. He's flicking the ball on. He's goals, assists, in their face, getting the crowd pumped up. It was the spark the team needed for sure.
Yes, I mean, he was getting up on Uzi and just like clapping in his face, like making him trying to make moves, move the ball, do something. Like, he is getting in these guys' heads
and under their skin and anywhere that they thought they were safe.
Yes.
So we go to the fourth quarter. Things are starting to get a little chippy. And 2 minutes and 22 seconds in, Joey Tavernisi pokes it across to Nate Bordeaux. We have a tie game.
Great goal.
Yes.
Great indoor goal.
And it was at this point I tweeted out something that was like, we've had a lot of things to complain about this season, but I don't think we've complained about Nate once. And honestly, I don't think we've lifted him up enough. He's the guy that so far this season is playing up to the back of his baseball card, as I keep saying. He just goes to work. He does his job. And he's been the most consistent player on this team.
You want me to disagree with any of that? No, I can't.
No.
I can't. I mean, it's not possible. I mean, I completely agree with everything you said. And he's a great guy to boot.
Mm-hmm.
He works hard. He practices all the time. He's in great shape. He's got a motor, one of the best motors in the team. Takes care of his body. To play every single minute of every single game. There's nothing I can say. It was a great goal. It was a great goal from two guys who can probably saw that play happen before it even did, and has probably practiced it more times than we've watched games. You know what I mean? Like, that was something straight from the training ground, but also just two guys who know each other and their movements. And, Joey was hurt, and he was a warrior all game. You can see him, his thigh, he was rubbing it and massaging it, trying to be out there for every shift because there's no one else left.
Yeah.
So, it was just two guys who made a well-crafted goal.
It was a thing of beauty, and the odd exploded. At work, I was having a super slow day, so I've got the game on in the kitchen, and I have earbud in, so no one else is hearing what's going on. I have a vigorous fist pump, and it was ironic in a funny way, because at this time, our pizza guy comes in from the dining room. He's like, "Did you just see that play?" I'm like, "You guys aren't watching this game." "No, Cooper Kupp just took it like 70 yards to the house." That is not why I am celebrating, but
take it as you will.
Yeah.
It was a good day to have two screens. Good two-screen experience.
Really would have been a nice day to have two screens, but it is what it is. So, this is where we get to the side of Tim that I don't think any of us have seen before. 4:25 into the fourth quarter. There's some hard contact. Tim hits the turf. Play is stopped. And we have a double blue card here for unsportsmanlike conduct to Izzy Cisse and Tim Goldman. Because, I'd say the foul would be the unsportsmanlike conduct from Cisse. And Goldman decided to cup check Cisse while he was standing over him.
Which is also unsportsmanlike.
It is
very.
Like, it's funny, but at the same time, yeah, it's definitely not what you want to see. I mean,
and I'll say too, Utica was dominating. It looked like dominating might be a little strong, but it looked like there was only one outcome, which is another Utica goal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that play helped Ontario sort of take a breath and sort of claw a little bit back into proceedings.
So basically, if Timmy hadn't done what he did, for lack of a better term, it would have.
It's a podcast. We can say it.
It most likely would have been, it would have been a five. It would have been a Utica power play, and again another play that could have changed the outcome, could have changed the end score. We had the penalty kick earlier, and this, could have changed things.
Yeah, I mean, Utica dominated the next 2 minutes. Couple shots on goal. The ball would get down towards the other end, and they would just common foul to stop momentum and let everyone get back defensively. But
I'm still going to say, from a fan perspective, it was still funny. It was still fun to watch that exchange, if you will.
Another one I'd like to know what Razor said.
Well, it's weird because if you watch the broadcast, they were literally just coming back from the play of the game.
Yeah.
And so it's not actually in frame as to what necessarily happened.
Yeah.
Oh, so, you can see it. Well, it happens while it's quiet, but
the play before, the interaction that caused Timmy to do what he did.
Yeah. You don't
really get a good view of it.
What Timmy did, you get a good view of.
Yes. Well, watching him, it's kind of funny because he has he's holding his face, and then all of a sudden he just kind of like knee jerk, just kind of like tries to shove him away, and it doesn't look like I don't know if it was intentional or not.
It was unintentional?
Or if he was just trying to get him away from him. But
yeah, it's a question to ask Tim in person and keep off the record.
Of course.
All I know is from watching it is at one moment there's just Tim laying on the ground, and then in the next moment there are two guys on the ground as Tim is standing back up to make it just Cisse laying there, protecting his family jewels from any more pain. But the 4-4 play passes without a goal. The rest of the game, almost passed without a goal. It looked like we were destined for overtime. And then with 48 seconds remaining, Robert Palmer finds the goal. Well, Ontario has a 5-4 man advantage. And this is another one of those moments where I've had many times this year. And it's you don't want to blame officiating. Officiating didn't cost Utica this game. And Phil, I don't know if you can say anything because it involves officiating. But it's a moment where you have to go, well, if officiating knew the rules, maybe things would have gone differently. Because under MASL laws of the game, if a player appears to have a head injury, even minor, officials are supposed to stop the play immediately. And 10 seconds or 15 seconds before the goal, you have Segura carrying the ball along the boards. And I believe it's Uzi Tayu bodies him against the board, just a shoulder to, well, I say shoulder to shoulder, but he's a full head and shoulders taller than Segura, so it was like shoulder to head. And
if you watch the broadcast from that angle, it essentially looks like forearm to Christian's head.
Not purposeful, not
obviously not. I'm not saying purposely. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just saying that is what you see, at least from the broadcast angle.
I mean, his head might have hit the boards, but all we know is he hits the turf, loses the ball, hits the turf, and is laying there holding his head. And the first time I rewatched it, I was like, all right. So then Segura gets up and he runs down the turf. And then at one point you hear Ray say that, and Segura is still down on the turf. And then a few more seconds pass, and now he's up and sprinting towards the bench, trying to get over there so a defender can get on and switch off with him. And then I went back and I counted it out. And there are 10 full seconds between Segura hitting the turf and Ray noticing that he's down, and another 3 or 4 seconds before he's up. So there's 15 seconds where Ontario has a man advantage. Now, if it's a leg injury or something, they are not supposed to stop play until the defending team repossesses the ball. Because how often are those faked?
Yeah.
But for player safety, head injuries are always supposed to be taken seriously. And it's another one where I hate to say it, but it feels like officiating robbed us of an overtime or at least a fair shot in the final minute.
All I'm going to say is I just watched this 2 or 3 times just now again, because I had been watching from my perspective, the far ref, which would have been the one closest to the basically the opposite corner of where I'm sitting. And he looks back 2 or 3 times. Like, he looks back to that corner, looks back in that general direction. Whether or not he was looking at Christian or not, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily matter at this point. But what bothered me was that after maybe a few seconds, he almost positions his back to not even be trying to, almost like to block looking in that direction. Now, again, I'm not claiming foul play. I'm not claiming anything like that. I'm just saying what I observed, and it bothered me. How play did not stop there. But nothing really we can do about it now. It's just something that we, something that we ended up observing, ended up costing us. So, I mean, it is what it is, but didn't feel good.
Fortunately, it looks like Christian was okay, but
yes,
for player safety, it's something that you really want to see cleaned up. Um, 4-3, Utica can't score in the final 48.
Yep.
And as far as losses go, that's the best loss of the season for Utica. Probably even considering the wins, if not one of the best games, the best game they played for executing what they wanted to do.
Yeah, it was definitely I would say it was a almost like a tale of two Uticas this weekend. You know, Friday having the extremely offensive heavy, Sunday having the extremely defensive heavy. And we could see when they play to their, when they're playing to one strength or the other, that they do pretty well. Like they weren't tough losses, but they weren't blowouts or, high scoring or, a high score deficit, I should say. So
it's nice for the narrative, right? It's about finding the balance between the ultra offensive, which I happen to like. I mean, don't get me wrong, the ultra offensive game in Milwaukee and the concerted effort to play neutralizing defense on Sunday. And, I mean, that's when the team is, what's the record? 2-6?
2-7 now.
2-7. When you have a 2-7 team, these are things, you do. You overcompensate. One way, you overcompensate. Another way, because you're trying to find your balance and your rhythm.
Yep.
That's how it goes.
So before we turn to this week's games, I want to share a quote from a song that I've recently come across that I think feels to where I am as a fan for Utica. It's from On a Turntable by The Interrupters. I'm filled with doubt, but I'm not hopeless. The stakes are up, but I got nothing at stake. Got a wounded heart, but it won't break. Because let's face it, at this point in the season, we have every reason to doubt that this team can turn it around. But we're not going to give up on them. We still believe that things can get righted. And even if they don't make the playoffs, they can at least look competitive down the stretch. Stakes are up. Yeah, the team has a lot to play for. They're playing for the playoffs. They're playing for contracts. They're playing for their pride. As a fan, I got nothing at stake. Just doesn't affect me win or, I mean, emotionally it affects me win or lose, but beyond that, nothing. Like I said, wounded heart. I think we all hurt after the way this weekend's games ended.
Yeah.
But it's not enough to break me. I'm still here. I'm still going to California. I'm not giving up on this team and walking away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's obviously for us, we've only had a couple of seasons. Season and a half basically before this. And this has obviously been one of our toughest starts. But not every season is going to be, sunshine and roses. Like we're going to have the downs, the downturns. It's going to happen. It is what it's, I say that a lot. It is what it is, but I mean, it sucks. But you gotta, if you really have passion for the team, you stick out the bad. You stick out the bad to enjoy the good. And I'm still going to be at every game that I possibly can be. Still going to watch every game that I can, at home, be cheering my butt off, losing my voice, whatever. It has become more than just a game to me personally. I feel like I have a much more invested interest in just them doing well because, we've met a lot of these guys. We've talked to a lot of these guys and, we root for them, plain and simple.
Yeah. As a 20-year Orlando Magic fan, I'm kind of used to bad seasons, so it's not unfamiliar territory.
I've been a Jets fan my whole life. I don't think I know anything but disappointing seasons.
The highs are very rare.
It's extremely rare. There's no other football team that has a draft mistakes video produced by ESPN. So, I don't know if you guys wanted to, but, I'll sort of ask the question here. You know, 2 tough games this week, as you said. You're going off to California. How do you see the next 2 games? I mean, there's a couple games in there's a good run coming for the team.
Yeah,
of games. They're coming fast and furious now.
Yep, with the Sockers game on Tuesday, or no, I'm sorry, Sunday, and the Fury game on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Then I just
Baltimore.
Yeah,
on Saturday. Then the week off, and then they're in St. Louis.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's definitely
doesn't get any easier.
No. It's definitely going to be I think honestly, out of that whole thing, the first 2 are going to be, I think, the toughest part. San Diego and then Ontario again. Now, personally, if they're going to, go into Ontario, I almost want to see them basically going back to the whole tale of two Uticas. I'd almost want to see them try the other style against Ontario. I mean, defensive did work. Don't get me wrong. So I could see them doing it again, but you might also be expecting that they could be potentially expecting a defensively heavy team, and work around that. I don't know. I don't know which one they would necessarily go with, or it also, of course, is probably going to depend on who can make the trip.
Yeah.
Be nice to see like a traveling roster, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it'd also be nice to see the injury reports updated weekly, but that rarely happens, unfortunately.
I think we'll probably have a pretty good idea of what Ontario's of what our roster for Ontario is going to look like after the San Diego game, because basically, who's ever out for San Diego is going to be out there for Ontario.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about San Diego. They are the reigning Ron Newman Cup from the mini season last year champions.
But if you talk to anyone on Milwaukee,
they're still the reigning champs because last year didn't count.
They'll fight you for it.
That's what Ian.
Tell that to all the Dodgers fans.
Ian had a good way of looking at it. It's like in boxing where there's 2, the WBC and the whatever the other acronym is. There's 2 different champs. The belt's not unified.
Well, Sockers, we have many players familiar with this team. Segura, Ben played with them last year. Slav played with them for 2 years. They're one of the more storied franchises in the MASL, as their fans will not let you forget. And we might be catching them at a good time. As we record this, they play against the Fury in half an hour in Ontario, which 45 miles between the 2 teams, but it's a game on a Wednesday night. Then on Friday, they play the Stars at home. And then on Sunday, they get Utica, so they're playing 3 games in 5 days. Now, they do have their M2 team that they can call upon for reserves if needed. So it'll be interesting to see how their depth gets tested over this stretch.
Yep.
But their roster is just as loaded as any other division leader in the MASL at the moment. You have
the 3 best teams in the league, in my opinion. I don't think you'll disagree. Are the division leaders in every. Those are the 3 best teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely not disagreeing with that at all.
And until we get to see those teams play, it's hard to say who is the true number 1 out of those 3. I mean, at the moment, it depends on their latest performance.
That's the beauty of playoffs, too, right?
Yes.
That's when it's decided.
But let out of the back, they have Boris Pardo as their starting goalkeeper. Xavier Snare-Williams is their backup. So it'll be interesting to see if he plays Friday night against Tacoma or if they save him for Sunday against Utica. I mean, the roster's just... You have Craig Childs, a.k.a. Captain America, when it comes to the mini football USA team. Who am I for? Over Leonardo de Oliveira, Tavoy Morgan, who I believe we saw with Harrisburg 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He was a great player, and he scored the game winner. He had a game winner, so San Diego won both of their games. They were down in Mexico opening up Chihuahua's home campaign. They were down there for 2 games. They won 2 games in overtime. Morgan had a hat trick and a game winner in one, and Polo had the other game winner. I don't know Polo's last name, but he had the other game winner there. So, 2-0 going down to Mexico.
And then defensively, they've got Pino and Cerda. Midfield, you've got Farber, Oliviero and Morgan up top, Childs up top, Mitchell Cardenas on defense as well. Just, again, a very veteran-led team that, unlike Utica, has been able to put it all together this season. And I think playing last year helped them keep it all together.
Yeah, that's interesting too, right? I never even thought about it that way. The teams that have played last year have are the teams that you're seeing up at the top of the standings.
Yeah.
The teams that didn't play last year are struggling.
Yes.
That's a very astute point. I have not considered that until right now.
Yeah, I try not to think about the year without soccer.
It didn't happen.
Dark times. But Utica will be playing them Sunday at 8:05 Eastern, 5:05 for the fans on the West Coast. How do you guys see this game going?
Brandon, you want it? Or you want me to go first? He's disappearing into the fire.
No, just debating if I need courage or not.
Oh, maybe not around all that fire. It might explode.
Fair enough. I mean, I don't know, because over past weeks, I would be very nervous about this one. Then Ontario happened and changed my mind a little bit. When we have a coordinated effort, but offensively, defensively, one way or the other, we're seeing a difference. We're seeing a different team. Now there's one big difference between San Diego and Ontario that I see right now, and that's really just their goal differential. And they've got an additional 12 goals goal differential on Ontario. They've got a plus 15. Ontario's got a plus 3. Now, again, looking at stats on paper, that can make all the difference. But they've also played. I'm actually trying to pull up their games, because I want to say that there's been some other games that they have played that I did not necessarily see going the way that they did, or the Chihuahua series that they had. I mean, those were a couple of 1-goal games that I didn't necessarily expect. Now, them going against Ontario, they've had back and forth. They've had blowouts. They've had, again, very close games. So I think if we can pull it together, have a coordinated effort, one way or the other, if we go offense, if we go defensive, if we try and mix it up and maybe have 75-25 or 60-40, one way or the other, maybe try a different balance. I could see this being a close game. Do I think Utica could pull it off after this weekend? Potentially, but it's going to be super close. I don't know if I could give a number, but I think it's going to be a close game either way. At least that's what I hope for.
San Diego likes to play a lot of close games.
Yes.
I mean, it's difficult to judge because they play the Fury so much. They play Tacoma so much. The teams know each other so well. But they like to play some close games, but they're just so deep and they can overwhelm you with talent. Line after line after line. That's how they wear teams down, right? Because they're so deep, because they can score from everywhere. Childs will get his couple goals because he always does. Pardo will make some fantastic saves. You're going to need a 60-minute effort. You're going to have to, pay attention to basically everyone on that team. And then hopefully, you let the chips lie where they're at. What you want to see out of Utica is, like you said before, just get there, effort, get down, tackle when you need to tackle,
Yes.
get in people's faces when you need to get in people's faces, make their life uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
They're the home team, right? So they're going to be sleeping in their beds and comfort. They're going to know where the ball bounces. But make it a full 60 effort and you take your shots. The Chihuahua games, they were, San Diego was in a hostile environment. Those games were loud, new turf, new boards. So, it's difficult to compare the two games. But, what you have to do is you have to play for 60 minutes.
Yeah. Agreed.
So did we get a prediction out of either one of those? Or am I going to be the first to go on the record?
I don't want to give a prediction. I don't want to do it.
Look, I'll stake it at first. Because I think we get lucky catching San Diego on their third game in 5 days, and Utica will be rested, having not played in a week. I think if you come out with that offense-first mentality that we saw in Milwaukee and clean up the transition mistakes, you can beat this team at home. It's their, like I said, third game in 5 days. Even with the depth that they have, I'm not going to say they're going to be gassed, but their legs might start feeling heavy in the third and fourth quarter if they aren't rotating through that roster and M2 team over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can find the goal and not just around the goal. Pardo is a phenomenal goalkeeper, but I don't see, maybe Pardo plays all 3 games this weekend, but I don't see it happening.
They're just so deep.
They are deep.
Yeah.
And a lot of it hinges on who makes the trip out west. But I like Utica in this one, 5-4.
So here's what, Brandon, wow, okay. I'll save you, Brandon. I won't make you, I'm going to set a line.
Okay.
Okay.
Right? And you can just tell me where it goes from there. If I set the line at Sockers minus 3.5. And we know Matt's taking Utica.
Yeah. I also would have taken Syracuse in that game against Pittsburgh the other night. So maybe I'm not good at picking.
Was that basketball?
Yeah.
Oh. Syracuse plays basketball?
But not really this year, but.
Oh, all right. Oh, and I know about college basketball fit into a thimble.
I'm just gonna say that I think it's gonna end up being within 2 or 3, one way or the other.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Personally, I want to say it's gonna be Utica, but I just don't know if I can make that call. I would love for it to be Utica. As a fan, of course I want it to be Utica. I always want it to be Utica. But realistically, if the stars align, as you say, that they're really tapping into their depth, they're really tapping into their resources as much as possible. Maybe we can squeak it out, I would probably say like a 7-5 us. I would probably that seems like a pretty realistic score.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they come in and that's not the case, it's going to be the opposite.
Yeah,
it's going to be 7-5 the other way. That's just how that's my gut feeling is that's what it's going to be one way or the other.
So how's my line? 3.5.
I think we're both taking them to beat the spread.
All right. So
Yeah.
I gotta shorten the line then. I don't know. Maybe 2.5. I'll go 2.5. I'm not going 1.5 on the line.
But I'm still going to take them beat 2.5.
Yeah, I know. No, I know.
I really think they can hang around.
You're betting with your hearts.
I'm betting with my heart, and I'm also betting that Phil Salvaggio's a smart coach, and is smart enough to look at Utica and say, "Look, these guys are 2-7. They're coming cross country. Who knows? I mean, I don't know if the team's landing Saturday, if they're landing Sunday, day of the game, how the jet lag's going to play out." But it might be a good chance seeing I don't want to say lesser opponent, because there really isn't as much spread in the team's talent as in past years across the league. But it's a team that's struggling to find their identity for a full game. Yeah. And it would be a good chance to, let some of your depth guys get a run and see how they handle playing at that M1 talent. Like Utica did with the Lancers a few years back and in a couple of the Harrisburg games.
You just make me miss being able to go down the throughway and watch those games. Dang it. Always got to bring that up.
All right, Phil. So do you have a prediction? Are you allowed to give a prediction?
I'm just going to sit on the spread.
You're going to sit on the spread. Okay.
Yep.
That's fair enough.
Which I will do again. So I'll start it then. So it's Utica and Ontario.
Ontario, a rematch.
Yep. And this one, so I still like my 3.5 for the Sockers. For Fury, the line is gonna be 2.
Is it a 1-goal game or a 3-goal?
So Fury -2.
They're at home.
Right. Which probably gets you half a goal.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
The Fury also play on Sunday. And the Fury playing tonight. Do the Fury play on Friday? The Fury do not play on Friday. So it'll be the second game in 3 days for both teams. If Jake makes the trip, I will take Utica against the 2-goal spread. If he doesn't, and you're left with Bo as the main person to body up Frank Tayu, there's not enough size on the rest of the team to handle that, and the Fury
on the back
cover. Yeah,
especially in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mirror that. I mean, if we've got the resources to lock down Tayu, then yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that spread. Absolutely. If we have the resources, yeah, I think, potentially goes Utica's way. But without that, yeah, it goes the opposite. I 100% agree with that assessment. I literally have nothing else to say for it.
All right. Well, I'll give you 2 prop bets for this game.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Will the TSA keep me from getting my Knights helmet through security and I'll be forced to check a bag?
Yes.
Yes.
-180.
Number 2. Both Philly and the ticket rep that I talked to said they will see what they can. Well, Philly jokingly said that they could pick me up from the airport on an ATV with Stryker. And I jokingly mentioned that when emailing their ticket rep. And they said, well, we'll see what you can do about that. So let's go plus 200 for me getting a ride on the ATV with Stryker.
No, I think a comfortable sedan is probably going to be the way to go there.
Yeah.
Look,
although it would still be very entertaining to see it happen, and you would be required to take a video.
I'm sure that would happen no problem, because the deal with Coach was if I get on that ATV, I have to wear the Knights helmet.
Yes.
Right, but as far as my prediction, because I will give a number, I think this time we get our overtime game. But I'm going to give it to Ontario at home. And 6-5.
It's a little bit higher scoring than this one.
I don't know if you're going to see the defense be as effective both ways this quickly within a week.
I can see that.
Are you struggling with numbers, Brandon?
No, I was struggling with another thought that's been crossing my mind, but I'll leave it for a different time. I do agree that we go overtime, but if they continue to be defensively focused, which worked to it worked to an extent, we'll say. And as long as we have all of our, the proper talent out there to handle it, I would say instead of 6-5, I kind of was thinking more 5-4, a little bit higher than last time. And I would, again, it's all just totally based on whether or not we can lock down, the people that we need to with the resources that we have. So, I'm gonna go Utica because, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna say 5-4 overtime win, because we've learned some things from this past week. I'm sure that they've watched the tape. They've learned some things. That's the hope, anyway.
Yeah, the tape tells the tale better than the stats ever could, but because we're an audio medium,
full circle.
Yeah, yeah, we have.
We've learned some things tonight.
Yeah, one of the things we've learned is that when we go with a full recap, our episodes are going to be a lot longer than the snapshot recaps.
Yeah, I'm about an hour late walking my dog, so I'll send you the bill if there's
oh no,
water damage on the floor.
All financial stuff can be directed through Michelle, seeing as she's not here tonight.
Got it. Makes sense.
Perfect.
Which, I mean, Brandon will probably end up footing the bill anyway, but
most likely.
So, but surprise her with that.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll love it.
I appreciate the invite on, though, for sure.
Yeah,
we appreciate you being here.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. Just keep watching those videos. Follow MASL on all its channels. My stuff goes out. You guys are always more than welcome to critique my selections for save of the week, goal of the week, plays of the week, all that fun stuff. Just don't do it on Facebook. I'll never see it.
Okay. So I think every one of them needs to be more Utica and less other teams in the league. And then until it's like, I think a good ratio would be like 4 Utica saves of the week and 4 Utica goals of the week and 0 for the other guys.
That would be that would be my old job. That would not be. That would not be the one I have now.
We all do things from time to time that are like, oh no, that was what I did at my last job.
Yes. But I'll be watching. I'll be watching from a hotel room in Stamford, Connecticut, as I head my way there for the Olympics. So watch yourself some Beijing gold too, because that's the show I'm going to be working on for the Olympics.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Love myself some Winter Olympics.
Yes, as do I.
Brandon, we'll have to hash this out another time, but next week's recording could be interesting.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
I fly back Wednesday, and depending on flight times and how delays and everything work, we may have to go a week without an episode. Unless you want to record immediately post-game at about 11 or midnight Eastern time on Tuesday.
You're out of your mind.
That's what I figured. I had another plan, but that fell through when things happened, and they're not for us to discuss.
Nope.
So we'll figure that out when we figure that out.
Sounds good.
But for everyone listening, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for listening to us. You can find us on our usual plugs that you'll hear after we close out. Phil, once again, thank you for taking the time to join us. And
anytime, fellas.
Brush
It's
off
been a
that dog.
pleasure.
Yeah, did you hear him? He came up the stairs.
All right. Have a good night. To everyone else, thank you for listening. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Keeper's Corner podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to us so you never miss an episode. If that podcast app also has reviews, be sure to leave us 5 stars to let us know how we're doing and reach a larger audience. It really helps us out. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Keeper Corners Pod. And you can always find us there talking UCFC soccer. Thanks again for the support. It's truly appreciated. One last thing. Go Utica.